listening on the radios. Good morning to those viewing on the Facebook live stream and also on the YouTube and Twitter platforms. I am your host, Azard Gumbs, and with me this morning is Jamster, and we're here to discuss whatever is in the news, whatever is topical points. We also have our guests who are going to be here this morning, well, not in person, but over the various electronic platforms. And of course, I want to say to those who are listening, I want to wish you a wonderful day today, a wonderful day. The affirmation that I have for you today is that broken bridges cannot stop me. Broken bridges cannot stop me. So as you go through your day and as you go through whatever challenges you may face, say to yourself, broken bridges cannot stop me. Broken bridges cannot stop me. So, good morning. Good morning to everyone. And Jamster, we have a very good lineup this morning. We have with us over the electronic platform, we are going to have with us Stevenson Manners, a Nivision author, and we're also going to have Ira Lee, a Brazilian of Korean descent. And Stevenson Manners, he is the author of the book The Father, the Son, and the Offerings, the enchanting story of Nevis cricket. And this is going to be, I think, a very interesting interview because he's going to talk about cricket. He's going to talk about cricket in the perspective of his life, from his point of view. He's going to talk about it from a Vision point of view, and Nevis being a very small island, of course, our sister island. He's going to speak about some of the challenges. He's going to speak about some of the successes that the people of Nevis have gained from cricket. And of course, we recognize that we have more than one cricketer which would have made the West Indies team. I want to hope that I'm correct. Jamster?
Hey, good morning, folks.
Jamster, I just want to make sure I'm correct. More than one division has made the West Indian team, right?
Trust me, I'm the last person. Okay. I'm the last. What I'm saying, I know enough to know that it's been more than one from Nevis. There's Derek Parry as well. But
awesome. So
other than that, I don't know anything about it.
So I just want to make sure that I'm correcting that. And then we are going to have someone who would have done some filming over the weekend there in Nevis again, Ira Lee. And so it's
Iara
Lee.
I cleared up the pronunciation with her last night.
Iara Lee.
Yes.
So she is going to be here. And you know what's significant? Because we have been looking over time at what is what is special about the days. And so, you know, every day presents its own different character and its own special day. We have February 14, Valentine's Day, celebrated internationally. And in certain parts of the world, February 15th was recognized as Single Awareness Day. And, you know, today, February 16th, what is significant about it is that some people around the world, they celebrate Fat Thursday. And this is the Thursday before Ash Wednesday. You know, when it's Ash Wednesday, you go 40 days of fasting. It's the Lent season. And of course, what Fat Thursday is all about ensuring that you indulge in all of your pleasures, so to speak. You know that you're going to be fasting for 40 days. So all of the things that you will not eat during that period, you take advantage of it on Fat Thursday. And so it is Polish in origin. It really goes to speak about the eating of donuts, and 2 to 3 donuts a day. That's, well, 3 donuts could be up to 1,050 calories. And and when you're burning that at the gym, or you have your watch on, your smartwatch on, burning 1,000, even burning 500 takes work. So imagine having to eat 3 donuts, and that's almost a whole hour in the gym when you're burning calories. But it's all about indulgence, and so I want to encourage those persons who want to take the opportunity of Fat Thursday to indulge in your food pleasures. Of course, we recognize that Wednesday next week is going to be Ash Wednesday, and afterwards, for those who celebrate and those who take, who recognize and also participate in the fasting, it's an opportunity for you, I guess, today to put on those weight in which you're going to lose over those
but I
40 days.
I also noticed that it seems to be a kind of informal part of Lent.
Yeah.
Because Fat Tuesday is like the Tuesday before Ash Wednesday. Are you a Catholic, by the way?
No, I'm not. I'm Protestant.
Okay. You're a Protestant.
I'm Methodist.
Okay. Yeah, I grew up in the Methodist church. But yeah, so this Fat Thursday thing, it seems as though it's like a pre-Lent. It's like an informal pre-Lent celebration.
Yes, it is.
And a lot of apparently it started in Poland, I think.
Yes.
With fried foods, fried pastries, I should say.
Yeah. And what is significant, it seemed that they eat a lot of donuts, and they were saying that about 2 to 3 donuts is is over 1,000 calories. That is.
Yeah, man, I'm telling you, right?
And those small small things, I'm like
donuts are like a trigger food for me. I remember when I was in college, right? Like when we were in one of this, there was a faculty lounge right next to one of the libraries we used to use. And when they had faculty meetings, they'd bring out the leftover donuts and put them in the library for us.
Yes.
And I was like, oh God, please no. I'm like saying no and yes at the same time, because I'm gonna take like 3 donuts, but like, God, no. And you know how hard it is to get exercise up there, especially when you're busy, right?
Yes.
In North America. So jelly donut. Come on. AZ jelly donuts.
It seemed like every day for you was like Fat Thursday.
But the good thing, but the good thing is, right?
Yes.
I never. It's one of those things where when it's something that it's kind of decadent, I try not to eat it often. But like, it's like you're in the library, right? And you're thinking, God, I hope they have a faculty meeting, but I hope they don't have a faculty meeting because I won't be able to resist. You know what I mean?
Yes. A friend of mine, a colleague of mine, I think they were working in Paris or one of those things, and they were saying that every time there's a big meeting, with diplomats and what's not, the food, they have so many pastries, so they was trying to watch their weight, and it was not working out, because every time you go to those functions, it's like it's littered with pastries, and to not indulge, it takes a lot of control.
Sometimes whole boxes of donuts would come out. It's like I'm like, no, but yes,
I know. You have to have some self-control, Jamster. We have to have some self-control. Even if you take just half of that donut and you leave the others.
But the thing with me though is that I used to walk more than most. So like sometimes when we were going home, and those guys who want to take the streetcar across to Young Street, right?
Yes.
I'm like, guys, that's not far. Let's walk. So I would walk. Well, sometimes peer pressure, and you're like, you end up walking. You end up going on the street. But that was usually only during the winter though, because during summer and like even spring, we would just walk. But
yes.
When it was winter, they'd want to take the streetcar. And it's not very far. It's like from, let's say, let me see. Let's say here.
Yes.
It would be.
They can't see you, right? So
I know. Okay, yeah. Okay, let's say from the sands. Let's say from the sands to about Sandown Road.
Yes.
So it wasn't that far really. But if it's cold,
yes, everywhere it seems further. When it's cold and when it's hot.
Yeah.
When it's too hot and when it's too cold. So, Jamsa, I was reading this article. It's from Loop News, and it says that the that Guyana blasts American Airlines treatment of PM Rowley and Dr. Gonzalez. So, what from the article, it seems as though the Guyanese government criticized American Airlines for its continued refusal to grant VIP treatment to dignitaries that are utilizing its service out of the international airport. So, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation released a statement yesterday where it criticized the airline's agents for demanding that the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines and Trinidad and Tobago, who were in Guyana for annual Energy Expo, leave the executive lounge and present themselves to the check-in counter. So they were in the executive lounge.
Yeah, that's disrespectful.
And they asked them to leave the executive lounge to go and check in at the counter. And it is said, this quote is said that all government protocols were in place to facilitate their departure, despite American Airlines having been written to prior to the arrival of the prime ministers in Guyana for them to be accorded the courtesies of check-in on departure from the VIP lounge. The airline refused to acquiesce to the ministry's request. So the ministry had written to them prior, indicating that, you know, we're going to have these
That's disrespectful.
Yes.
They're in your region and treating heads of state like that.
Yeah, the government of Guyana had previously protested this position taken by American Airlines against its own high and senior government officials, but they continue to pay scant regard to the government's requests for entitlements to positions held to be respected.
Wow.
The ministry said a formal letter will be sent to American Airlines to express the government's displeasure at the continued disrespect shown to dignitaries.
They would never try that with a US. They would never try that with POTUS. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
You know, or any.
They would not.
Man, that's really disrespectful. Yes. So, what else is on your mind?
Well, Jamster, I was reading an article that was speaking about a U.S. citizen, and it was on the BBC News, but it's I think this article we shared yesterday in relation to he received 28 years in jail for a wrongful conviction. I'm trying to.
Yeah, I saw that.
I'm trying to source it now.
It's funny, that pales in comparison to another one I saw a few months ago. A guy who got out of jail, I think, one of those southern states, after 42 years. Can you imagine? I think he was 15 or something when he went in for some murder, and turns out he wasn't the one that did it.
So, just from my own recollection, because I'm trying to open the article and not getting it open.
Yeah, I saw it last night.
It is basically, I think what happened, and I'm trying to go from my memory, is that he was convicted of murder. It appeared that the murder happened on his porch, but he would have indicated in his evidence that he was never at home at the time of the murder.
Yes, I saw that one.
And of course, they had persons who would have, had evidence saying otherwise.
Let me guess. There was evidence, but it wasn't admitted, right? Probably.
No. What happened, and I wish I had the article open, what happened from my memory, just reading it, it seems as though the person who actually committed the murder was in prison, an inmate, and he then confessed along with someone else who said that he was never there, and that he had been the one. I remember that. Yeah, he had been the one who actually committed the murder, and so it's very unfortunate because 28 years of your life that you never get back, and what is peculiar is that the guy who committed the murder, he was incarcerated, so it seems to me that he perhaps will not be seen, but based on the conviction, if the conviction is a rightful one, that I say rightful in the sense that he did in fact commit some sort.
So you're saying that the other guy happened to be in jail as well?
the guy who actually committed the murder.
Yeah, was actually in jail as well.
So he probably said to himself, I'm already here, might as well,
Might as well tell you.
So
tell them.
it's unfortunate. And then I tried to look at a brief search about compensation, because you think about that and you think about wrongful conviction.
That's a favorite. That's a favorite.
It's based on U.S. law. U.S. law is different to, the Commonwealth, Caribbean law.
I would think it's a favorite pastime of lawyers, the compensation part, right? Yeah.
For clients, we love when our clients are compensated for something that is not in their favor.
I'm serious, but I'm just kidding.
But the U.S. law, based on, and it goes state by state. I read an article that says it's up to 50,000 US a year for the years. So
wow.
And again, it depends on state law. Yes. So
and then there's a punitive charge on top of that.
I
right?
would assume so. Yeah. I would based on
a punitive payment on top of that.
Yeah, I'm not too sure, but maybe.
So let me ask you. I've noticed with these payouts, compensation and punition are different. Why is that?
Punitive is for example, if it is that is to punish, basically to deter the action.
But can't you argue that compensation is the same as punishment?
It's damages and it's categorized differently.
Why is that?
Damages would be like, for example, if I am a public official, like a police officer, and during the exercise of my duty, I did something against that, where I might have, for example, you might have found some sort of personal videos on somebody's phone, and then you start sharing that around. You might have gotten it because of someone lost it or someone put it in the police station, and you expect the police to safeguard your stuff, but they tamper on your phone, go into your phone, take your personal information, send it around. So it goes against what they are there for, and so it's to punish persons. It's like like a deterrent. It's like you ought not have done this.
Another thing I always wondered about legal financial punishment. Why is a fine not given if someone gets sued, right? Say the government fines you for doing something to someone. Why don't they give the money to the person? Because it could be a case where
fines are usually as it relates to criminal aspect, and criminal is state initiated, whereas compensation, which I'm thinking you're thinking about, is more of a civil, so it's person to person.
Yeah, so then I always thought it seemed odd to me that on the criminal side, if you charge someone a fine,
it's a fine, it goes to the state, because the state usually when you use the word fine, it's really like it's state initiated, so it's like government initiated against us. So you have traffic offense, it's state.
So you can do both then. So you can have criminal on the same perpetrator.
Yeah. So for example, let's say there's a traffic accident where the police might, the state might bring action against you for careless driving, whereas you might claim for something in tort for negligence, so you get compensation. Yeah, so the state does one thing, and then you could bring your own personal action.
The law is very confusing, but I think that's by design. You guys like that, right? Like you guys like all that Byzantine stuff.
It's a wiggle, and you're forever learning.
Yeah, because most clients they're laymen. They're just gonna throw their hands up and go, oh hey, whatever, hey, do whatever you gotta do.
Yeah. You're forever learning, though.
And then you guys hand us a bill for $100,000. I'm just playing.
I know you are. It's cool, man. It's cool. Playing. But it's. I almost forgot where we started with.
No. It's because it's part of the same thing. The guy who I was saying got 42 years. He did get a good payout. I think he got like was it 15, 14 million, something like that. Okay. That was just last year.
I mean, in my view, compensation in terms of money, it's the question, is money, but money.
So in a sense, the government punishes itself. Then the compensation and
even that I want to say. I say. Money is as far as you could correct the fault, but 28 years of life, against, you
Yeah.
know, you're like, how
Yeah.
could you? But it's the best that we can do, you
Yeah,
understand?
yeah.
Because you can magically give back some at that
Yes.
time. So it's how you compensate, you know, financially. But there's only so much money can do.
I know.
Yeah.
Okay, so it looks as though I'm thinking we should take a quick break. It's 8:30, and we were supposed to be hooking up with Vernon Springer at Point on the Streets, but we're gonna see how that works. Just give me a sec. Let's take a quick break and come back.
WINN is 98.9. 98.9 is Win FM.
It's not just a new year, it's a you year. It's time to put yourself first and build a strong financial foundation. And that's where we can help. At Sagicor, we have the experience, expertise, and extensive proven financial solutions to help put your goals in the spotlight. Whether you want to protect yourself from the unexpected or set a financial plan for the long-awaited, we are here for you. Visit sagicor.com to get started. You deserve it.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
This is a notice from Sagicor. Dear valued client, in order to satisfy our regulatory requirements, we are in the process of ensuring all information on file is kept up to date and relevant. Therefore, you may be contacted and asked to submit recent documents. Should you have any queries, please call our advisor or one of our customer service representatives at 465-9476. Sagicor thanks you for your cooperation on this matter.
Caribbean numbers, come and play. Just one single dollar, that is the way. You can pick one number or two or three. I win up to 20,000, you see. 3 ways to play, 3 draws a day, 3 ways to win. Hear what we say. Caribbean numbers is the easiest game to play.
The new Caribbean numbers.
So play today.
At any Caribbean lottery agent island-wide.
So play today.
Okay, so we're trying to get in contact with, connected with Vernon Springer from Point FM in Antigua. But while we await that connection, we can talk about other things. So yesterday, the Minister of Education, the Honorable Dr. Jeffrey Hanley, he condemned the murder of the school security officer. And so the article goes on to say, St. Kitts and Nevis Education Minister said yesterday's murder of a security officer at the Irish Town Primary School was a direct attack on the education fraternity and the wider school community. In an address to the nation yesterday, Education Minister Dr. Jeffrey Hanley condemned the act of violence, which occurred after students and staff left the compound. He said, and I quote, "Our schools are safe zones where members of the school community should feel safe. I am certain that the effects from the heinous crime will reverberate throughout the school and surrounding neighborhood, and as such, we pledge to do everything within our power to re-establish that sense of safety and security at the Irish Town Primary School," Hanley stated. Every member of staff is viewed as being critical to the daily operation of the school, and this officer is no different. The education sector has lost a stalwart who will be remembered as a punctual, kind-hearted, helpful officer. End of quote. Hanley did not give any update on when the Irish Town Primary School will reopen for face-to-face classes. So that was a message from the Education Minister. He would have made an address yesterday. And we also had a statement issued by the leader of the People's Action Movement in relation to the death of the security officer at the Irish Town Primary School as well. And in the statement, the leader, Sean Richards of the People's Action Movement, he indicated that it is with great sadness that we learn of the tragic shooting of Delia Hanley, a member of the support staff at the Irish Town Primary School. He went on to say, "We extend our heartfelt sympathies to her family, friends, colleagues during this difficult time." He, in his article, says that as we mourn for the loss of Miss Hanley, we must redouble our efforts to build a safer, more just society for all. It is time for the government to prioritize the safety and security of our citizens. And he says, "I say it again, this is the first duty of any government, and we must hold this government accountable to delivering it." He continues by saying the People's Action Movement urges the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party government to take the issue of crime seriously. We are quickly running out of time before we irreversibly destroy the moral fabric of our federation and further undermine our development. We need policy action. We need it now. The People's Action Movement stands ready to work with the government to find solutions to this urgent existential crisis and ensure a brighter future for all. And he ends by saying, "Our thoughts and prayers are with Miss Hanley's loved ones during this difficult time. May we find comfort and strength in the knowledge that she was deeply loved and will be greatly missed by all who knew her." So that was a message from the statement. And I mean pieces of the statement, because it's not all the statements, pieces of the statement from the leader of the People's Action Movement on the murder of Delia Hanley. And so I would have read from an article from the Education Minister and also from the leader of the People's Action Movement. So, Jamster, is the connection getting any better? Is there any hope? Okay. So as we continue to hold on, Jamster, can we have a short break and play some ads? Can we just have a short break and play some ads? Okay. So we have China, Iran call on Afghanistan to end restrictions on women. So China and Iran have urged mutual neighbor Afghanistan to end restrictions on women's work and education. The call came in a joint statement Thursday issued at the close of a visit to Beijing by Iranian president, during which the two sides affirmed close economic and political ties and their rejection of the Western standards of human rights and democracy. Since taking over Afghanistan in August 2021, the Taliban has banned women and girls from universities and schools after the 6th grade and forced out those in elected offices and other prominent positions. The two sides called on the Afghan rulers to form an inclusive government in which all ethnic groups and political groups actually participate, and cancel all discriminatory measures against women, ethnic minorities, and other religions. The statement said, adding to the US and its NATO allies should be adding to the US and its NATO allies should be responsible for the current situations in Afghanistan. The US had backed Afghanistan's elected government against the Taliban, but withdrew amid the rising costs and dwindling domestic support for a government that was unable to counter a Taliban revival. The call for women's rights is notable, coming from Iran's headline, "An Muslim regime," which has been challenged by months of protests sparked by the death of a young woman in police custody for allegedly violating clothing requirements. The country's theocracy has executed at least 4 men since demonstrations began in September over the death of Mahsa Amini. All have faced internationally criticized rapid closed-door trials. The bulk of China-Iran joint statement emphasized strong political and economic ties, the quest for peace and justice in the Middle East, and denuclearization in spite of Tehran's alleged drive to produce atomic weapons. In a meeting earlier with Chinese leader, they expressed support for China's crackdown on democracy in Hong Kong and claim to self-ruling democratic Taiwan. China and Iran portray themselves alongside Moscow as counterweights to American power and have given tactic and, in Iran's case, material support to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. And so here in this article we see that both China and Iran are calling on Afghanistan to end the restrictions on women.
Okay, I think we're gonna have to scratch Vernon Springer Point on the street. Callers, we're gonna have that next week. So let's just move on. We can't bring you that today, but we're gonna have Point on the Street with Vernon Springer from Point FM in Antigua, and we'll have that sorted for next week. So yeah, where were we?
Well, I just indicated that both China and Iran are urging Afghanistan to, have to remove the restrictions on women. Based on the article, the Taliban took over Afghanistan, the government, and since then they have forced out women out of public office, and they have basically after grade 6 they're forced. So women and girls are banned from universities and schools after 6th grade.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. You know, I actually saw an article last week where the Taliban. No, I think it was it Bill Maher? It was it was Real Time on Friday. Bill Maher was reporting that some of the Taliban people who now run the government, they're actually complaining that they didn't realize running a country was so hard. You know, and some of them are actually saying they prefer to be doing the jihad thing rather than flying a desk 5 days a week, right? And so they now realize that running a country is not easy.
Yes.
And let's hope they make the logical jump and realize that running a country without women is even harder. You know what I mean? Especially when you have an, even Afghanistan probably has an installed base of women with expertise in all sorts of things that men, let's say those types of men, might not want to involve themselves in, especially when it comes to running a government. So let's hope that when they're grumbling about, I'd rather be doing jihad than flying a desk, they think about they actually think about, you know, maybe we should allow the women to become equal partners with us. They can get their education, and of course they can even help us to run the country. But I mean, that might be too much to ask.
Here in the West, you have the fight for women, you know, in terms of being equals, and we realize in Afghanistan, based on the Taliban governance, women are severely disadvantaged. It's quite unfortunate, but it's commendable that China and Iran have come together to speak on the issue.
And another story I saw that I thought was interesting is a bunch of pregnant women from Russia that have been flying to Argentina to have their babies. And the Argentina government is, you know, starting to clamp down on them. And of course, you know, the obvious reason why.
Yes.
Why they would want to leave Russia to have their babies, because of the war, and apparently the Argentina passport offers more opportunities for Russians to travel, because most of the world has basically clamped down on them. And the Argentina government now is clamping down on all these women coming to Argentina, and they're going there near to term.
Yes.
Idea being to have the babies there so that the babies can get the Argentinian passport, but the Argentine government has gotten wise, and I think they're trying to tighten up things on that front. So,
There was an article that just came in, and it's entitled "Hollywood Sex Symbol Raquel Welch Dies at
she passed away.
82."
Yes, very hot. She was very hot back in the day.
What are some of the movies that she would have been in, Jamster?
I don't know. That was before my time. I always read about her and I saw pictures of her, but I don't really know any of the movies. Speaking of movies, though, at the I wanted to talk about this. So speaking of movies, at the Super Bowl, a bunch of sequels are on the horizon.
Yes.
There's Fast 10 coming up. Fast and Furious 10.
And
it's not Fast X, people. The X means 10. That's the Roman symbol.
Fast and Furious is up to 10 now?
Up to 10, yeah. And 10 is going to be 2 parts. So the first one, I think the tagline is the end of the road begins. It's kind of cool, right? The end of the road begins. Get it? Driving.
Yeah.
In these, muscle cars and all that.
I can't believe we reached up to 10
Yeah, it's
already.
crazy, right? Yeah.
The actor who died.
Yes.
Where were they when he died? At what?
I think they were in the middle of. It wasn't on set, but I think it was like an off day or something.
Yeah, but I meant we're at 10 now.
Oh, you mean when he died? I think it was 8. Around 8.
Oh, it was at 8. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
somewhere around there. I might have been 7 or 8. Somewhere
I
between.
seem like 10 seems like a lot
No,
of
7 between 7 and 8. I think is when he died.
10 seems like a lot.
Paul Walker was his
Yeah.
name.
Yeah, Paul Walker.
Yeah, and then we have Bad Boys 4 coming as well. That's gonna be coming this year as well. It's April or May. And also most of the big movies that are coming as sequels. I'm trying to remember the other one. There was another movie I can't remember, but yeah. I don't know. You don't seem like you're into movies. You look like you're into Lawyer Netflix or something.
It's a time jam, so I just wish that we had more than 24 hours in a day.
You have to have, but you see, you have to make downtime for yourself.
Yeah, but
they say all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. In this case, all work and no play makes a dull boy. You know?
My downtime is gym and exercise. I take that time to relax.
But you can multitask when you you can have like a movie on your phone or your tablet. Is that an iPad or is it?
It's an iPad.
It's an iPad. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can have a movie on.
But usually, I don't know. I find I like more real TV.
Oh, you mean like reality TV?
Yeah, not really reality. I like maybe videos talking about different things.
Okay.
Real life things.
Okay, I ain't mad at that.
Yeah. Not saying that this is not the occasion, but
Mm-hmm.
most likely on that you see me on YouTube just going through maybe 5 exercises that beneficial, maybe affirmations, how to deal with stress, how to different practical things.
Another thing, you say you have Netflix, right? No, Netflix had for a while, they were allowing people to share. They actually even promoted it. Allow people to share the passwords and stuff.
Yeah,
but they're cracking down on it now because
I think they might they increased the fees as well. I think they
increased the fees. So I think now if you're gonna share it, you can only share it with someone in the same household.
Oh,
but if you're gonna share it with someone who is not in the household, you have to pay a little more now. I mean, the money for making all these movies has to come from somewhere, right?
I guess they're going to determine whether you're in the same household based on the IP address.
They would know, yeah. They would know. So in a recent update, the streaming giant announced that subscribers in Portugal, Spain, New Zealand, and Canada will no longer have the luxury of sharing their passwords with loved ones outside of their household. If this news impacts you, our hearts go out to you. Here's a quick guide if you need to cancel Netflix in a hurry, so you can always pay a little more. If you want to share it, maybe you have a girlfriend and she's not a living girlfriend, and like, I don't want you living with me, but at least the consolation prize is I'll give you my Netflix password. Aren't I nice?
That sounded like a good console.
Yeah. So he said at one point in time, Netflix turned a blind eye to account sharing. It even seemingly championed for it when it tweeted. This was an ad campaign. I actually remember this. Love is sharing. See, I was right. See, love is sharing a password. I don't want you living with me, but I'll give you my password. Anyway.
Yeah, my Netflix account.
That's my part. The streaming giant changed its tune in recent years, and finally, it's pulling on the trigger on blocking subscribers from unauthorized password sharing. Why did Netflix do a complete 180 in its stance? According to Netflix, over 100 million households are sharing accounts, which is impacting its ability to invest in new TV shows and films. In other words, it wants more money. Kind of like lawyers. After all, this is a business. But the question is, will it lose money from bitter subscribers, or will its bottom line benefit from the move? A Netflix account is intended for one household, and members can choose from a range of plans with different features, the streaming giant said. On the Netflix new rules, members must set a primary location, ensuring that everyone who lives in their household has access to the account. So, yeah. You're going to have to pay now. Let me see. I'm looking at the plans. Oh, they don't have the price. Why don't you have the prices here? Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So, someone like you who's not really into that.
But I have
stuff.
Netflix. I have Netflix. So I have access to it. I prefer my Netflix.
Another thing I wanted to point out, top Android phones from China are packed with spyware. They did some tests. the American security companies did some tests on. So I'll list some of the brands that people need to be careful of. Oppo, Vivo, Xiaomi. Xiaomi, what's that one? Xiaomi, well, Huawei doesn't really have any phones now per se, but they have found that the phones have spyware in them that basically send the information back to the Chinese manufacturers. And you have to remember, in Chinese law, all Chinese companies are compelled to hand over or do whatever the government says in the name of national security. So the brand, the phone makers are Xiaomi, OnePlus, Oppo, Realme. That's the one I was trying to remember. And they've actually taken apart the phones and found that the phones are actually collecting information, which is why I have a Google Pixel. I have an Android phone, but it's a Google Pixel, so I'm pretty sure.
So the Apple users are safe.
You're safe, yeah. Oh yeah, more than safe.
So you know,
it's something to think about. So when we're buying these cheap TCL phones and so on, we might, it's a cheap phone, but you're being spied on. And some of us might be thinking that because you're in the Caribbean, but you never know. And this is one of the issues with the TikTok, the criticism that TikTok gets in the US. And now there's a bipartisan drive to have TikTok banned because now think about this scenario, AZ. You have a kid, maybe you work for the CIA or you work for the government, or you work for some sensitive think tank or something, and your kids are on TikTok. There's a good chance that the Chinese government can figure out, these are these are your kids and find a way to, so there's, and the other thing, the US government and some states started doing it, but I think the US government did it as well. They have forbidden employees to run TikTok on any government infrastructure, whether it's a phone they gave you or a computer or anything, to mitigate against any kind of spying that could be going on through TikTok. The other thing that's important to note is that TikTok, a Chinese company, the TikTok in China is nothing like the TikTok that we get out here. The Chinese government doesn't allow, a lot of the weird stuff that gets on TikTok, because we live in a free society. You realize living in a free society is a double-edged sword. We live in a free society. People are free to be idiots. They're free to be,
I think I traveled to China. And
you went to China too? Man.
It was the restrictions, you couldn't be on Facebook because they had the firewall to prevent you from going on Facebook. WhatsApp, I don't think WhatsApp wasn't allowed. So
you
have to download some sort of Chinese-like app. That's similar to WhatsApp, similar to Facebook, but it's like it takes all your information, right? And it's like all of the citizens have to input the information in there, and it's a database, and so you communicate through there. So it was very restricting, and I could see controlling because the content that goes through there. And
the same thing applies to the Chinese version of TikTok, which goes by a different name. I can't remember. But
so they
don't allow a lot of the stuff. It's all educational stuff. And
So in order to go on social media like Facebook, I had to download a VPN. The VPN that gives you the IP number outside of the country. Yes.
We got just about 2 minutes on to 9 o'clock, and 9 o'clock we are going to be joining Steven Semanas, as you know, like we mentioned earlier. He wrote a book on, he just released a book on the first Leeward Islander, the first Nevisian, first national of St. Kitts Nevis to make it to the West Indies cricket team. So Steven Semanas, he's a journalist and author, and he's going to be joining us in maybe 2 minutes or so.
Great.
So we look forward to that. So that should be fun. You don't follow cricket, do you?
Not as much as you, Jams.
I don't follow cricket.
I know.
So you follow even less? How is this possible? What kind of math? I mean, like if I had to get a score for my knowledge of cricket, it would be probably 0.5. So what?
My interest in cricket is when it comes here in St. Kitts for CPL.
Oh, so you do go to the park?
Yeah.
Oh, I've never been. Is it fun? But you probably in the party stand, right? Or the lawyer stand?
I've been in the party stand before.
You never been in the lawyer stand?
I don't know there is a lawyer stand.
Yeah, there's a lawyer stand.
Well, maybe next time
I'm
I'll
just
go
joking.
in there. I know you are joking, Jamster. But yeah, I mean, it's a fun experience. I think when CPL comes, it's more than just a game. It's the excitement.
It's the excitement
that surrounds it. Yes.
I get the impression the little like Trent is sitting here next to me. He can tell me if I'm right. But I get the impression that the other countries like the Caribbean party atmosphere around cricket, and apparently it's not the same. I don't think it's the same. It's more buttoned up, and
I think it is.
In the other countries and
the other style because.
Am I right, Trent? Yeah, he said yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So we're going to hear from the son of a famous cricketer.
No, he's not the son of a famous cricketer. He wrote the book.
Yes,
it's a biography.
Father's son.
Yeah, but he's not. No, he's not a son. He's just a biographer.
Oh.
Yeah.
Stevenson
Semanas. Yes.
Well, we await.
Yeah, he's coming on. We can chat in the meantime. So folks, stick around. Steven Semanas is going to be. Yes, there he is. He is going to be joining us. Are we ready? Okay, it's 9:01, and Steve, good morning. What's up?
Morning. I'm fine. I'm happy to be here. Third time of trying for the week. Thursday is the lucky charm.
Yeah.
How are you guys doing?
We're doing
we are
good.
great. We're great. We're glad to have you here this morning, of course, as we speak about your book and as we speak about cricket. As Jams and I was chit-chatting just before, we were saying that we aren't really cricket followers. However, we are grateful of the fact that we can have persons like yourself who are invested in the game, who love the game, and who could share their perspective of the game with us.
I'm very happy to be here. And did you mention Trent? Trent is in the studio?
Trent is right here, yeah, sitting next to me.
Yeah,
Yes, he
I
is.
figured so. I wonder if he played any cricket in his youth days. Could you ask him?
And Trent, you played any cricket? Yeah, he said yeah. He said in school.
Oh, he
yeah.
did. Well, let me give him a little alert and the nation a little alert, because Trent's father, Livingston Clement Sargent, I describe in my book as a father of division batsmanship. He was the first division who really made it regionally as a batsman, an outstanding player in his day from Cotton Ground Village. And he made Cotton Ground the first outlying district outside of Charlestown to become a cricketing powerhouse. Now, Trent, I know you don't know this because maybe you don't follow the history, but tomorrow, February 17th, makes it 55 years to the day since your father became the first Leeward Island batsman to score 100 against a touring team. That is the MCC, then known as the Merrily Born Cricket Club, now England. He made 127 at the St. John's Ground in 1968, 17th February. So I'm giving you a family alert. Tomorrow morning, your other brother should make Sarge breakfast. You have to come in the morning, so I'll assign you to do dinner. And your mom, Mildred, she will do everything in between.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah, he's here chuckling. So
Yeah, he is.
I
enjoying that.
know him well.
Yes. Very well, it seemed. You know, his mother and father.
So Steve, the book. Okay, give us the name of the book and tell us what brought about your desire to do a biography on Mr. Willett.
Well, here's the book. I received my personal copy and a few others last Saturday from Amazon. It's called The Father, Son, and Offsprings: The Enchanting Story of Nevis Cricket from 1945 to 2023. So even though Willett is a significant character in all of this, it's not just about Willett. It tracks the game from 1945 to the present. In 1945, after World War II, that's when cricket became organized. Before that, people played in the village green, in the road, and all of that. But it found structure in 1945. Now, Willett, as I said, is a central figure who in 1973, on the 9th of March, became the first division and the first Leeward Islander to play Test cricket for the West Indies. The West Indies had apartheid. They didn't call it by that name. The game entered the region through Guyana in South America, not through the West Indies proper. And you know, Guyana has 6 distinct ethnic groups: whites, blacks, Portuguese, Indians, Chinese, and Amerindians. And only white people could play the game because it was played on the plantations, say at Berbice. And eventually, the game spread up the archipelago, first to Trinidad, Barbados, and lastly to Jamaica, which is, of course, way up north. And the islands in between were seen as significant. Those 4 places were known as the Big Four. And so players from these islands didn't get an opportunity to play for the West Indies. Way back in 1953, for instance, Theodore Ted Hobson, the lawyer who became the first division player to tour with the Leeward Islands team. And that was to Bermuda in what was called a goodwill tour. They were designed to spread the game through the region. And then in 1953, the same Ted Hobson, Victor Eddy of St. Kitts, and a player called Stanley Thompson, and a player from Antigua called Hubert and Tannerson, were flown to Guyana, or maybe it was both then, but they were sent to the Guyana to try out in front of the West Indies selectors. Well, try out, they didn't get selected because the Big Four dominated. And so Willett, in 1973, made the breakthrough for the islands, the smaller islands. So he broke down psychological, geographical barriers. They didn't call it apartheid. They called it discrimination. They called it insularity. And then the next year, in March, exactly 1 year after Willett, Andy Roberts from Antigua, and later that year, Viv Richards. And then, of course, Willett was followed by 6 other divisions in Derek Parry, Keith Atherton, Stuart Williams, Carl Tuckett, Ronako Morton, and Kyron Powell. Now, where else in the world can you find an island 36 square miles, 11,000 people producing 7 international cricketers? Take, for instance, Antigua. Antigua didn't produce a test cricketer after being involved in Leeward Islands cricket for 61 years. Nevis did it when they were at the 24-year marker. And I'm not hitting on you guys across there, but after 110 years, there has not been a Kittian male player to have played for the West Indies. Congratulations to the young female from the Sandy Point High School who played for the under-19.
So
all
Steve,
of that is not St. Kitts' fault. It is because of the prevailing circumstances of the day where only Big Island people could play for the West Indies.
But Steve,
and so when I looked at the landscape, I figured that Nevis has to be one of the most precious pieces of cricketing real estate in the world. Only 2 places that I could think of in the Caribbean, Barbados, which is a Mecca, 166 square miles, so that would be about 4.5 times the size of Nevis. They have produced more cricketers than any other place, probably on planet Earth. And then there's a place in Guyana called Port Morant, which also has been prolific. But then remember I told you that the game took roots in Guyana. As we could see from the last CPL, Guyanese are the most cricket-loving people in the region. So when I took everything into consideration, I figured the Nevis story had to be written. Why this time? It will be 50 years in another 2 weeks since Willett made that historic feat. And so I wrote the book to coincide with March 9th, 2023. The Nevis Cricket Association on that night will be having a gala at the Malcolm Gishard Park entitled Classy at 50, and we're having people coming in from all the territories involved in Leeward Islands cricket. That is, in a nutshell, is why I wrote the book.
Okay, Steve, I want you to weigh in on, because I've always and imagine me who, I kind of just follow cricket kind of peripherally. I always wondered, Nevis probably, firstly, Nevis probably has the most cricketers per capita of any country. I think I heard that one time. And
But that's the point I just made.
yes, and the other thing is,
the point.
what do you think accounts for the fact that Nevis has done so well at getting people onto the West Indies team and St. Kitts hasn't?
Well, you see, cricket is not just a game. Wherever cricket is played, it is used as a form of political and social dialogue, cultural expression, and also resistance. I think Nevisians fell in love with cricket around 1969. 1969 is when Willett came onto the scene as a 16-year-old student at a 7th standard student at the Charlestown Boys School. He's the only one of the Nevisian players who have never gone to a high school. There is a myth that his headmaster, Stanford Bunkaper, kept him back, not allowing him to go to high school because he was such a precious commodity. But when you look at where the school was located, downstairs at Charlestown Methodist Church in Charlestown, not a lot of space, but in those days, Willett and Al Libert, those guys dominated school cricket. So the game took really serious roots in 1969 because Willett went to Antigua to play against other Leeward Islands territories. His first match was against Montserrat. And that was a very interesting tournament. As a matter of fact, chapter 4, I think, is called 1969 Revisited, because there were very important circumstances which took place in that tournament. First, Vivi Richards at age 17 was making his debut for Antigua and playing against St. Kitts, and got out to a bowler called John Bowie. And he resented that decision, stamped around on the ground, and the match had to be abandoned. The authorities ordered Viv Richards to come back to the crease because he was such a star in the making. And he batted 3 times in that innings and didn't score a single run. So that is a marker. We know Viv Richards went on to become a world beater, the Master Blaster. And then in the final match of the season, Nevis was playing against Antigua for the championship game. And Nevis was 182 for 2 when Trent's father, Livingston Sargent, was on 68. And another player, Alfred Howell, was on 86. And it looked as if we were going to beat Antigua for the first time in Antigua. And just before lunch, 10 minutes before lunch, Howell was given out in very questionable circumstances. Trent's father urged him to stay at the crease because he felt he was being cheated. In those days, you didn't have neutral umpires. The umpires came from the territory in which you were playing in. And it was well known that they gave advantage to the home team. The crowd invaded the field. Police had to get the Nevis team securely off the field, took them to the hotel. The crowd followed the cricketers to their hotel, banging on the windows of the lobby and saying, "Where is Shield? Where is Shield gone?" Because Nevis was a bit of an unknown entity. As a matter of fact, the then president of the Nevis Cricket Association, the late Eugene Walwyn, was also Attorney General of the first Attorney General of the Associated States of St. Kitts, Nevis, and Gwinnett, of a very powerful man, had to go through Robert Bradshaw to organize a charter to get the Nevis team out of Montserrat, out of Antigua. Some players even had to go through Montserrat to get to Nevis because everybody, including the fans, could not fit on the charter. When the plane came in, there was a spontaneous motorcade from then Bambouche Airport into Grove Park, going first through Cotton Ground, the first known sporting motorcade in the island of Nevis. So people took a lot of interest. And then, of course, there was the Christina disaster. And it impacted a lot of people. A lot of people in St. Kitts blamed the Bradshaw administration for negligence. Whitman Brown has explored that in the 4 books he has written. And it is then that Nevisians decided that they would use cricket as a tool primarily against St. Kitts. And so by 1971, we won the tournament for the second time. We first won in 1955. And Willett's mother prophesied that Nevis would never win again until her son played for Nevis. And Willett was on that team, breaking a record, taking 36 wickets in 3 matches. And Willett, as a star, was born. So in 71, people really took great interest in the game. Every youngster wanted to be a Van Samry, a Livingston Sargent, a Willett, an Ed Atherton, who was Willett's first captain. And so the game really took root there, and we have never looked back. Now, in those days, Nevis was a very agrarian society, so everybody did farming. There were no basketball courts. There was no cable television, which came in 1988. And so all that Nevisian boys did, not girls, they didn't play it in those days, was to play cricket. And Nevis has not been indulged in too many sports. St. Kitts, of course, has had Kim Collins, Delaney, etc. Nevis has had, of course, Kim Collins and Meretsa Williams. But just recently, 5 years ago, for instance, we got a Mondo track. So Nevis has been single-minded in terms of playing cricket. There were no cinemas, no distractions. People played cricket from sun up to sundown. And so cricket became part of the Nevis identity, a religion even.
Okay, I'm here listening to all the history that you have given as it relates to the cricket playing, and it seems very fantastic as we look at the history of cricket in our federation and particularly in Nevis.
Alchemy Willett
Yes.
is the subject of Steve Manners' new book, and you reference the offspring. Just tell us a little bit about the fruit not falling far from the tree, because I mean, as little as I know Tonito and I can't remember the other one's name. Akito, yeah. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit about the offspring.
I told you knew more
Well,
than me.
I have to tell you about the father first.
Yes.
In most of the Caribbean islands, for instance, there's a father figure to the game. At Kensington Oval in Barbados, for instance, there's a stand called the Innis Hewitt stand, or the Hewitt Innis stand. Mitchie Hewitt is the father of Barbadian cricket, because in the 1930s, when there was a lot of revolt in the Caribbean over worker rights and injustices and so on, which of course started with the Buckley's riot in St. Kitts, January 20, 1935. That spread throughout the region. And Hewitt was the one who organized the Barbados Cricket League, which allowed ordinary people to play cricket. Now, Barbados is the most stratified of Caribbean countries. That's why we call it England. There's something called the Barbados White. Azard, I believe, may have studied there, so he will know that.
Yes, I
studied there. The businesses are owned by white people, and the people who worked in the sugarcane plantations didn't get much of a say. What Hewitt did was organize the Barbados Cricket League, which allowed the game to spread island-wide. Out of that became people like Garfield Soberts, Conrad Hunt, Clement de Pisa, Charlie Griffith, who comes from the most rural parish of St. Lucie. And so the game was allowed to spread that way. Similarly, it happened in Nevis that there was a man called Johnny Howell. Most of you would know Tessa Howell. She's a freak and caller to radio shows. It's her grandfather. He was older than most of the other players, just as how Clive Lloyd was older than Richards and Roberts and all the other people he played with. So he fathered many of the young cricketers. Willett's first job and Derek Parry's first job was at his place. One working at a gas station in Willett, the other working in a lumber yard, because he had a little bit more resources than everybody else, and he helped the young players along. So we regard him as a father. As a matter of fact, what he used to do was to organize a boat and take players to non-traditional cricketing countries such as St. Martin, Statia, St. Thomas, Tortola, to spread the game. Because during that time, Nevisians were getting very little opportunity to play. Leeward Islands cricket started in 1913. You had St. Kitts, Nevis, and Anguilla playing as one. You had Montserrat, you had Antigua Barbuda, and you had Dominica, which was at that time part of the British Leeward Islands. They left in 1940 and became part of the British Windward Islands. And that's where Nevis got a squeeze in. But during the period of time, Powell tried to grow the game by going to other territories outside of the Federation. He first played in 1926, and there were matches between St. Kitts and Nevis for the McNaughton Cup. But when it got time for St. Kitts, Nevis, and Anguilla teams to be selected, most of the players came from St. Kitts. Nevis got 12th man and 13th man position. Anguilla, because it is more distant, never even got a look in. So that's why he is the father, and the pavilion at Grove Park is named in his honor. As a matter of fact, much of the money for that pavilion came from the Virgin Islands because they were so pleased with him for bringing the game to them. Then, of course, Willett is his son, and as we said, he broke down the geographical barriers and opened the door first for Derek Parry, then Keith Atherton, Stuart Williams, Carl Tuckett, Ronaldo Morton, and Kyron Powell. Sadly, we have not produced another player since Kyron Powell made his debut right there in St. Kitts in 2009. So we're going through a very thin period for the last 14 years.
Okay. Very interesting recollection of the game played by father and son. And for some reason, I thought Powell, the last one, would have been much sooner. It seemed like much sooner. I can't believe it's 14 years since.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it has been some time. What would you say, or what would you say to young people who are interested in the game of cricket? What would you say to them?
Well, I'm going to say to them through El Camino Willett. Because on Monday of this week, I collaborated with the Nevis Public Library to launch an exhibition. Same name as my book's title.
Yes.
I contacted them as early as May 22nd last year when the book, writing the book was just taking place. I'd done all the research, and I asked them to partner with me for an exhibition for Black History Month. So it opened on Monday and will go to March 10th, the day after the 50th anniversary. At that ceremony, which I must say was a very impressive one, they have a great exhibition. The library staff has done a great work, and I'm encouraging clinicians to come over and have a look. Willett was interviewed by Curtis Morton right after the ceremony concluded and asked him the same question you just asked. And he lamented that Charlestown Primary School, for instance, the biggest school on the island with over 300 people, no cricket is being played. People don't have the passion. They've gotten a bit lazy. He said players are more concerned with the bling, wearing fancy shades and dangling gold chains and so on. Willett played cricket morning, noon, and night. I remember seeing him running up Church Ground, which is the steepest hill in Nevis, backwards and forwards. You don't find that anymore, even though there's so much money around. Maybe we haven't documented the game well enough. As a matter of fact, in 2013, when Leeward's cricket turned 100, Willett was honored in Antigua, and then president of the West Indies Cricket Board, Julian Hunt, said he is not certain that we are fully aware of what Willett really achieved, and it has not been documented. That, to me, was a call to action. So Nevis has taken things a bit lightly. Take, for instance, a few months ago, a bronze statue was erected on the grounds of the Museum of Nevis History. It's a statue of Alexander Hamilton, who was born here, left here at age 8, went to St. Croix, and went up to the United States, became the first Secretary of the Treasury, and his image is on the $10 bill. He spent 8 years in Nevis. And I don't blame anyone for leveraging that to draw American tourists to Nevis. So I accept that, even though there was a bit of an uproar among Nevisians saying, what has he done? What had he done for Nevis? Now, last week or 2 weeks ago was the first anniversary of the Malcolm Gishard Park donated by the Chinese government. And the premier spoke at that, and he said that annually Malcolm Gishard's birthday will be celebrated, and said that a bronze statue will be erected. 2 weeks before that, I'd made a post suggesting ways in which the government could commemorate the 50th anniversary. One was to declare that day El Camino Willett Day. One, two, to erect a statue at Grove Park of Willett. The premier didn't say a word. That to me is an acknowledgement that our leaders do not appreciate enough what Willett achieved. I don't think they understand. Some of them are not involved in the game. Now, when we had the opening of the exhibition on Monday, permanent secretary from the premier was there. I delivered books to him on behalf of the library and the museum, the sports museum in Nevis, one to Willett, one to Tessa Howell, and 4 others. And he made it known that the government, he had seen communication that the government was supporting the dinner, maybe by giving the accommodation free, maybe putting in some dollars, etc. But we have heard nothing from the Minister of Sports, nothing from the Premier outlining how the government will commemorate this occasion. Maybe they don't understand how momentous it is, because like you, the Premier never played any significant cricket. So the Cricket Association, myself, and the library are out there doing things to commemorate, but we don't hear anything coming from the government. So I don't think we have allowed people enough to appreciate our sports people. Last night, I got a very interesting call from the UK. John the Dentist Maynard played for Nevis. Now, Howard Williams from St. Kitts, for instance, Derek Parry from Nevis over the years have brought sporting teams from England to Nevis. Now, they've heard about my book, and they've got on to John Maynard to find out how could they access the book. So I told him it's available on Amazon. He said, no, all of these players are insisting that those books must be autographed by El Camino Willett. So what is John Maynard doing in collaboration with those persons seeking to get this book? He's ordering the books from Amazon, sending them to Nevis to me to be allowed, Willett will be allowed to sign them, and then he will find a way to get them back up to England. So those people understand the value of sports tourism. I don't think our governments do. I've been wondering this morning, where's Kim Collins, for instance? I know I heard he had been given a job in St. Kitts, but I don't see him on the television. I don't hear him on the radio. These islands need to begin to do some work in sports tourism. Last Thursday, I visited the sports museum. Just said I'll pop in. Inside, I met 2 couples. They were standing next to the Willett statue, which is not bronze. And basically, they were asking the curator certain questions. And me having stepped in and having written the book, I got involved in the conversation. They were asking, how tall is he? What kind of bowler was he? And we had a very interesting chat. And then the curator said he's writing a book. I was able to share the link with them. They live in Toronto, Canada. They have played in the Toronto Cricket League, but they no longer play because they say it has been overrun by Indians and Pakistani. By Saturday, they messaged me to tell me that they have purchased their book on Amazon. I say that to say that we can do a lot more through sports to promote the game. Now, I was absolutely pleased last Friday morning when the phone rang, and when I picked it up, was Dame Marcella Liebert. She called me to congratulate me and told me that she was moving ahead to order her book. I found that very interesting because she, of course, played with victorious netball teams in the Caribbean Netball Championships in 73 and 78, along with Trent's mother. So she understands the value of sport and what it can do for the country. And I made a post to that effect. I've not had a single call from any official in Nevis, whether Minister of Sports, Premier, or whoever. But then we're always happy to say that think it's this and think it's that. You have me on this morning. DJ Marishaw had me on last Wednesday. Chris Collins called the day after I released the book, and I'm going to be appearing in his show in Leeds, England. I got a call from another national in Connecticut, and I've been on. No media house in Nevis has approached, except for the hardest working man in sports, Curtis Morton.
It's Steve Manners. It's 9:30, and I want you to. We have to wrap. We have a Korean filmmaker who happens to be in Nevis at the moment. Steve coming on next. But just before you go, I want you to tell people where they can get the book. I know it's available. I actually went to the Amazon page and I saw. I think it costs $27, right? Sounds like a deal.
As a matter of fact, I'm just learning a lot about Amazon. Last weekend, they dropped it to $21.50. Last night when I checked, it was at $28. I think it's a publicity tool where they want people to rush in and get it. It's available on Amazon. I don't have copies on that. And there's a bit of consternation on Nevis about that. Nevis and St. Kitts are in the microwave age where they want everything instantly and they want it at their fingertips. So the expectation is that I would write the book, walk around and deliver it to every person. I'm not going to do that. I brought in a couple of books for the benefit to pass on to people who have contributed to the book. But when I crunched the numbers to bring in 500 books, for instance, it cost me $4,045 US. Round that off at about 12,000 EC. And based on the freight for the couple of books that I've brought in to donate, freight will cost me about $4,000. These books were supposed to arrive since the Saturday before I got them last Saturday. And I had to go every day, call every day. It was a bit frustrating at West Tech in Nevis. So I'm not going through that process because before selling a single book, I would have expended $16,000 in addition to production costs. You had to get graphic artists, you had to get layout artists, and all other costs. You had to get somebody online to format the book. And if I was producing it on, say, Kindle or any other format, each one is a separate cost. So I've decided that I've brought it this far and that people will have to go on Amazon to get it. Some of the older folks, one man told me in the supermarket, Lord Manners, what do I know about Amazon? Well, I didn't know too much about Amazon before that either. What I did when I completed my manuscript on December 31st, I handed off the rest of the project to my daughters who are Amazon gurus. They order clothes there, they order phones there. And so they took it to the end of the process. They worked with the numbers, decided on pricing. They track it every day. And so what people need to do is get a child or a grandchild. I can bet you that it's a sports season and every child in Nevis and in St. Kitts is going on Amazon to get sportswear and different things so that they can look flashy on the track. Engage your children and grandchildren in allowing you to get that book. One gentleman called out to me in traffic yesterday and said, I've been trying to reach you. I went to his place. I was at the courthouse apron because a petition case was going on. And when I went to see him, he wanted to know, he's a middle-aged man, how to get the book. And when I told him Amazon, I could see the consternation on his face. So I told him about getting younger people engaged. And he said, oh, okay, I'll get my stepdaughter in New York to order mines. So there's a way to do it. Send it to a U.S. mailbox. People travel between these islands. There are American flights every day. but it's a step too far for me to be walking around Charlestown to say, could you buy a book? This book has taken 3 years of research. I did it on behalf of the Division and Kittitian people. I believe everybody should get a copy of this book because this is our story. And that's why I wanted to have the exhibition in the collaboration with the library staff during Black History Month. So that's the status of the moment, but I get calls every day saying, man, bring in one for me because I want an autographed copy. Well, if you get your copy, I'm not going anywhere. My pen is still handy. I've got 2 right here next to me. I'll sign you the copy, but it's a step too far. The other thing is, many people may not know this, books are not stuff to be sitting down in boxes. If I brought 500 in, that could be about 30 boxes of, well, no, not that much. Maybe 10 to 15 boxes that I will have. I don't want to be stumbling over them in the house. So it was a good feeling when I received mine. So when I took it up, I nearly jumped out of my skin because it has a nice shiny cover in the left-hand corner. That's Johnny Howell. Willett is bowling at Grove Park, which is now renamed the E.T. Willett Park.
Yeah, hold it up quick. We gotta wrap now though. Hold it up to the camera so we can get a look at it. Yes, there we go. Steve Manners' brand new book on Alchemeda Willett and his historic forays in cricket. Okay, Steve, we gotta leave it there. We've got another guest coming up next, and you know, you can join us at any time in the future. And we'll be sure to plug the book and let people know they can go and get it on Amazon. The title is Father, Son, and Offspring.
Yes.
Okay.
Good time would be March 9th, which is the actual date. So in another just over 2 weeks, call me if you need me. I'm right here.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you guys so much
Steve,
for having me. And Trent, don't forget to do what I ordered you to do for the father of division batsmanship, Livingston Clement Sargent.
Okay.
Over
Well
and
said.
out.
Well said. Steve Manners.
Thank you.
(9:36). Don't forget, we got Iara Lee coming up. She's a Korean filmmaker. That's coming up next. Island Tea Time. Let's get a word from our sponsors, and we're going to be talking film with Iara Lee.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.
Tea time, calling night, noon and morning. Tasty biscuit, just can't resist it. Tea time, calling night, noon and morning. Tasty biscuit, just can't resist it.
You can dunk it, you lick it, you taste it, you spin it, you twist it, you can mix them all together. It don't get any better. You can dunk it, you lick it, you taste it, you spin it, you twist it, you can mix them all together. It don't get any better. Anytime, whatever time. It's tea time. Whatever time. It's tea time. Snack on a delicious tea time biscuit anytime. It's tea time.
Buster! We run things, things are on we. Buster! Buster! Living color, do it differently. Buster! Buster! Not an in charge, like for the party. Buster! Buster! We set the pace, then everybody follow it.
7 flavors, best taste. Buster, bolder, better, better. Pick your color.
We set the pace, then everybody follow it.
Buster, live in full color.
Buster!
It's 9:39, and it's all about Yara Lee, and she is joining us on the phone now. Yara, go right ahead. Hey, good morning.
Hi, good morning, Yara. Can you hear us?
Yara, can you hear us? Okay, yeah, okay. I think I see what's going on. Okay, she is gonna be joining us in a sec now. Okay, here we go. Good morning, Yara. How are you doing? Hello. Okay, let's see what's going on. Okay, let's give it a shot. We are linking up with filmmaker Yara Lee. Yara, are you there? Hello? I can hear you, yes. Okay. Go ahead. Okay, Yara. Can you hear us? Hello? Okay, I'm trying I'm trying my best to get you here. Could you I'm not hearing you. I'm not really hearing you. Can you Okay, we're trying to get Yara Lee. Yara, can you hear me? Okay, let's try this again. Hello? I can hear
you, but very.
It's very faint.
Yeah, it's very faint.
Okay, we're trying to sort it out. I don't understand. Not really a good reason for it to be that faint. Okay. Okay, Yara, okay, you can give it a shot again. Let's try that again. Yara.
Should I call you again? Or
We can hear you much better now.
Okay. Hey, so welcome to St. Kitts Nevis. We were told that you're a filmmaker who visited Nevis. So tell us what you're up to.
I'm finishing the Caribbean tour.
Yes.
Because I spent some time in Puerto Rico.
Yes.
And then that launched the idea of doing a tour of the other island countries. So we just had screenings in St. Lucia, Guadeloupe, Dominican Republic, and after here, we are screening in San Martin. And I had the opportunity to visit St. Vincent Grenadine and collaborate with the film festival there years ago. And I just... Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. You said you collaborated with some of the islands.
And I'm just very excited about the filmmaking community here and the arts and culture and activists here.
Yes.
And it was really impactful to show a film about what's happening in an island country far away in the South Pacific. People here were very... Hello?
Yes, you said people here were very... We're listening to you as you speak.
Oh.
Yes, we're listening.
So I'm just very excited to keep going with the resistance and through arts and culture all over the world, including in the Caribbean. San Martin, for example, is a doubly occupied country.
Yes.
The Dutch and the French came and colonized, and so we need double resistance.
Yes. So what brought you to St.
Rico.
Kitts? Because you've been across, various countries in the region. You've been to various countries in the region. And what brought you to St. Kitts and Nevis? You spoke about St. Martin with the dual influence, the Dutch and the French. But what would have piqued your interest to come to St. Kitts and Nevis?
I cannot hear you well. Can you repeat?
Oh, why did you come to St. Kitts and Nevis? What made you come to St. Kitts and Nevis?
Yeah, I think, I've been to a lot of the countries in the Caribbean, and I'm trying to finish the world tour. I've been to 178 countries.
Oh, wow. 178?
So St. Kitts and Nevis was still on my list.
Wow.
Of countries to go, and I learned so much in St. Kitts and Nevis, and I'm so overwhelmed with the kindness of the people and the interest that we have from young people as well, who I try to convince to get off the TikTok to come see our films, and a lot of them came, so I'm very happy.
That is amazing. And so what are some of the areas in Nevis that you film? Can you hear me? Hello?
I cannot hear very well.
Oh. I asked what were some of the areas in Nevis that you filmed?
Well, I'm not filming in Nevis. I'm just meeting the filmmakers to see how we can even consider the idea of doing a film festival in Nevis and St. Kitts. And I'm trying to nurture the film community because I cannot make films everywhere I go. So what I'm trying to do now is pass the torch and nurture young generation of filmmakers, local filmmakers.
Oh.
And there is a lot of potential here. And one of the filmmakers, friend of mine, Cleon, he's going to the Berlin Film Festival, which is the biggest festival in the world after Cannes, to represent the Caribbean. And Aiko from St. Vincent Grenadine is heading that way as well. So I think the world needs to pay attention to the creativity going on in the Caribbean, and I think it's happening. Locarno Festival invited Aiko as well from St. Vincent Grenadine last year. So I feel like the momentum is very good, and I had a small audience with Mark Brantley, the premier here, and he also expressed a lot of interest in further developing the film world here in Nevis, and I'm sure in St. Kitts would be the same. So there's a lot of excitement in the air. We just have to grab this excitement and transform into action on the ground.
Yes, that sounds really good. Sounds like you're having a good time here in St. Kitts. So,
yeah, because the young generation also has to really get engaged, because a lot of times when you live in an island, you'll end up having island mentality, but islands are not disconnected. Islands are also connected to the world. So this whole kind of global view of the world is important even in island countries, because what big industrialized countries do impact on island countries. So we have to be aware. We cannot afford to be isolated in our comfortable, beautiful, pristine, amazing island countries. We have to be attentive about the consequences, like the climate change that I showed in my last film in IPAC. This year, it was declared that the first island country in the world will disappear because of climate catastrophe, basically with the waves and the sea rising and the droughts. Tuvalu, a very small island country in the Pacific, is officially declared as the first country that will disappear due to climate issues. So this is not happening in St. Kitts and Nevis, but you know, seeing the speed of the climate catastrophe, you never know if even us in St. Kitts and Nevis could be next, you know. So we all have to be very concerned about what all these industrialized countries are doing to the world, because it comes down to climate injustice. We don't do anything bad here, but end up being the first to suffer. So I would love young people here to get very engaged and seeing the world as one world, because it's going to take global action to mitigate a lot of the problems caused by the industrialized countries.
Okay. So you've been here. You've had one of your films played at NEPAC. You've interacted with creatives here and other filmmakers. What do you think are some of the ways in which we can grow the film industry here in St. Kitts and Nevis?
There are many stories to be told. The world has an overabundance of stories from the Western world, like America, Europe. But the world is hungry and thirsty for stories from other corners of the world. Even the African continent, we have very cliche ideas of the African continent. And we have very cliche ideas of Caribbean. Even people working with me, when I introduced the idea of making a Caribbean tour, they were like, oh, there is no community there. It's only cruise ships. And that's not true. There is community everywhere in the world. And I have to be on the ground to see firsthand how communities work in each of the Caribbean countries I've been going. And it's been amazing, because I have been finding, you know, the people who are long-term concerned and interested in protecting and cherishing those island countries. So I think you guys have to tell the story so people can be further educated about the Caribbean, because people do have cliche idea of what it is going on here. It's definitely not just tourism, you know.
Yes.
There is heritage, there is anti-racist, and, you know, getting rid of the slavery history and taking charge as locals, you know, not letting all just expats take over and buy everything. So there's a lot of work to be done here too, and lots of beautiful stories about your ancestors. And I hope we'll be educated. Cleon was telling me that he found the archive of a lot of resistance heroes who fought colonialism, but they've been erased from the history books here. So history has to be rewritten so young people can learn about the real heroes of your country, you know?
Yes.
And films should be made about those resistance local heroes too, you know?
Yes.
So we are discussing all these possibilities and seeing how we can encourage each other. And I look forward to staying in touch long term with everybody that I got to meet during the screening, and all the people who are connected to us now through social media. And I want to encourage people to connect with me, because if they haven't seen our films, I can also send them links and they can see online. And hopefully we'll stay in touch forever and we'll be friends forever.
Okay, could you give us your social media information? Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, any social platform that we could follow you on?
Our organization
and also spell your name.
Yes, our organization is called Cultures of Resistance. Cultures with an S because it's about plural, it's about many cultures. So Cultures of Resistance. This is our name on Instagram and Facebook. And my name is Yara Lee, IARA_Lee, LEE. Just like Bruce Lee, my brother.
I love that one. Thank you, Miss Lee. Thank you
so much.
Yes.
And I look forward to staying in touch because I adore your island. And we even pay a penalty fee and extend it because we were supposed to be out of here on the 13th, but we are staying another day.
Awesome.
Actually, now almost another week because we love to hear so much. So I send my love to everybody, and let's stay in touch and work together.
Yes.
Because together we can do more.
Thank you, Aura. Did you have the killer bee from Sunshine? Did you get the killer bee from Sunshine? It's a drink.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Okay.
Cheers.
Cheers,
To everybody.
cheers.
Lots
Yes.
of kisses and stay in touch.
Yes, no problem.
Bye-bye now.
Okay, thank you.
Bye, Yara. Okay, that was great. Yara Lee, she's a filmmaker of Korean descent. She's from, I think, is it Peru or Chile? Chile, I think. So, yes, it's 9:55, and that's going to do it for that. That was a great interview. And she made, Azard, she made a great point there about the, exploring our culture and maybe rendering it in film. That was a pretty good point.
I think, and that's the way in which persons are going to remember our culture, especially as we look at documentation. A lot of persons are interested in film and video, and that could be easily shared.
Yes. So it's interesting to know, and she said that one of our filmmakers is presenting at the Berlin Film Festival, representing the whole Caribbean.
Yes,
so
that's wonderful news.
That's pretty cool. I actually didn't even realize the Berlin Film Festival was the second largest after Cannes. I didn't know. For some reason, I thought it was like Sundance, the Sundance Film Festival in the U.S. I didn't realize the Berlin Film Festival was the second largest. So
Yes.
so that was pretty interesting. Yara Lee, thank you, and we hope to continue the cultural exchange between persons like yourself and St. Kitts Nevis.
Yes, and we want to wish those persons listening and always tune in to Win FM to have a wonderful day, and an excellent. Well, tomorrow is Friday, Jamster, so tomorrow is the last working day for most of us. Yes.
Yeah. But lawyers work every day, right?
Every day, even at the evening.
And then billable hours, right? I'm just joking.
Yes.
Y'all don't do that billable hours thing.
No,
here,
we don't
right?
do it here. We don't
that
do it here.
okay.
Yeah.
But you guys just charge a lot after that, right? Just make up figures like, oh, okay, make it $120,000. It's not like that, no.
We have bar fees. We have agreed fees set by the bar, minimum scale of fees.
But on a serious note though, I feel like when you see how they bill hours like in the US and those countries, it just seems like a big scam. And then this is why this is why lawyers get a bad name in North America, because everything is about money, and you hear what take for example someone, we were talking earlier about damages and so on, people being awarded damages. So in the St. Kitts case, let's say someone wins $100,000, how much does the lawyer get?
Wins?
Let's
fees are negotiable, and it's for different transactions or different let's say transactions. There are fees set by the bar, as I said before, with minimum cost. So there's a minimum limit. So you have that to be guided by, and you have also precedent to be guided by.
But I get the impression in the US that it could be like anything. Say you win $2 million, the lawyer might get.
I'm not too sure how the US operates, because again, their system is different to ours. Their system is different to ours.
But they certainly give lawyers a bad name.
Well, luckily, Jamsa, that you're living in St. Kitts and Nevis, where we have good lawyers.
That's why I'm always needling you, because everyone gets painted with the same broad brush because of how a lot of those lawyers behave, and everything just seems to be about money.
It's so wonderful that you're not over there. You're right here in St. Kitts and Nevis, where you could get, True.
But it's no fun. It's no fun if you can't make fun of those shady lawyers, You know what I mean?
Those shady people.
Those shady people.
Yeah. Not just lawyers. People in the whole that can be shady.
True that. Okay,
so we have tomorrow. The fire team will be here tomorrow to talk about fire.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hopefully we could have some more interesting discussions and viewpoints.
I was thinking of asking them. I thought about this early in the week. They're called the St. Kitts Nevis Fire and Rescue Services. I should ask them about the rescue element and how that works. No, that could be interesting. Because they had the jaws of death and stuff that cuts open cars and they do a lot of other stuff.
And they could jump over high buildings as well.
Pretty much.
Yeah. You like a lot, James.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So I let's conclude today's show. I think we had quite an interesting 2 hours, and I want to leave a quote with persons who are listening. Only a fool looks to tomorrow while still holding on to yesterday. And so let's be mindful of the past, but not hold on to it as we look forward towards the future.
Okay. When you said only a fool, what came to mind? Only a fool breaks. That's the Elvis Presley song.
Yes.
Anyways, okay, so I'll see you tomorrow. Folks, we hope you enjoyed the show, Watts and all. We will be back tomorrow for another go-around on Island Tea. Bye.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.